family that they spend on the marriage. First of all. And especially it's not the responsibility of the older brother. Secondly, if you have enough money to send your own parents for Hajj, the Hajj has already become fard upon you. Hajj is fard upon you, and it is nafil for them because they don't have the money to go for Hajj on their own. So for them to go for Hajj is an optional amal. It's optional. It's not an obligation. They do not have to go for Hajj because they do not have the istata'ah. Istata'ah is of two types. First, a person has physical capability to reach the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second of all, they have enough money in their possession to be able to afford the expenses of undertaking the journey. So if you're the one that has to spend on them to go perform Hajj, that means they don't have the money themselves. If they don't have the money, it's not fard upon them. Yes, they can go perform Hajj, they can perform nafil Hajj. Alhamdulillah, that's great. But for you, Hajj has become fard if you can afford to send them. And once it's become fard upon you, should not delay it. You should go and perform the Hajj as soon as possible. So most of us, we think that Hajj is only when you get old. When you're young, we have to just stay busy in our work, in our business, in our dunya, in our family. We don't have time to do Hajj. When we get older, that's when we'll do it. No. As soon as we have the physical capability, monetary, financial ability to go for Hajj, we need to go. We should not delay it any longer. And if we don't have the monetary capability, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made deen very easy. We don't need to save up our whole life. We don't need to borrow money to go for Hajj. Because it's not an obligation upon us if we do not have the means. Alhamdulillah, if we have a desire, we have a longing to go visit the house of Allah, that's great. That's what every believer should have that. And we want to set aside a little money so that we'll be able to one day go visit the house of Allah. That's great, but we are not obliged. We are not responsible. It's not an obligation upon us to do that. But many of us, we have that money in our account. We have money to buy brand new cars, to buy houses, to buy everything, but we don't have time. But in spite of that, we don't go for Hajj. We don't realize the necessity. We don't realize the importance of going for Hajj. And this is something which is very critical because it comes in the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. عن علي رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من ملك زادا أو وراحلة تبلغه إلى بيت الله ولم يحج فلا عليه أن يموت يهوديا أو نصرانيا وذلك أن الله تبارك وتعالى يقول ولله على الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا رواه الترمذي. That Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, whoever possesses the provisions and the transport to convey him to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in spite of that he does not perform Hajj. It doesn't matter whether he dies as a Jew or he dies as a Christian. It doesn't matter. In other words, this person, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. This very severe warning actually. May Allah give us understanding. That actually Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is telling us this person, they might as well not even die, they might as well not even consider themselves a Muslim any longer. If they are neglecting and they're denying this obligation which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on their shoulders. They have the means, they have the capability, and in spite of that they still do not go and perform the Hajj, then this is very severe. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam goes on to quote the verse of Quran, that it is the right of Allah وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the understanding. Another thing about the Hajj is very, very important, just amongst the virtues. Of course, now we know how critical it is that we perform Hajj. And the obligation on us to perform Hajj. But what are the virtues? What do we get when we perform Hajj? What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to give us? Aside from the fact that inshallah we will never face poverty. Another hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من حج فلم يرفث ولم يفسق رجع كيوم ولدته أمه متفق عليه. Hadith mentioned in the books of Imam Bukhari and Muslim that whoever performs Hajj and he does not commit any major sin, he does not commit any sin, he does not do any vulgarity, like speak any vulgar talk or anything along those lines. He does not commit any major sins. That he will come back like the day that his mother gave birth to him. He will come back like the day that his mother gave birth to him. On the day his mother gave birth to him, what was he like? He was a clean slate, free from sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will return him from Hajj sinless. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all of his sins. Comes another narration عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال العمرة إلى العمرة كفارة لما بينهما والحج المبرور ليس له جزاء إلا الجنة متفق عليه. It's also hadith mentioned in both the books of Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim that from one umrah to another umrah is atonement for everything that comes between them. In other words, from one umrah to another, whatever sin a person commits, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wipes them out. And the accepted Hajj, Al-Hajj al-Mabrur, لَيْسَ لَهُ جَزَاءٌ إِلَّا الْجَنَّةِ. The accepted Hajj has no compensation except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us Jannah. The only way that we can truly be compensated for the accepted Hajj is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of this Hajj, He enters into Jannah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us, as soon as it becomes an obligation upon us, take us to His house to perform this obligation and prevent us from delaying or procrastinating and saying next year, because nobody knows if they're going to see next year. And if we die in the state that Hajj has become obligatory upon me and then I did not perform Hajj, it's very serious. May Allah protect us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to change our outlook, change our perspective on what Hajj is all about. When we go for Hajj, we shouldn't just go to do shopping. We shouldn't go just for sightseeing. But my dear respected brothers, we should go so that we can become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot become closer to this dunya and the things of this dunya, but we become closer to the akhirah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of Surah Al-Hajj, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us about? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, He is basically giving us a very vivid and clear picture of Qiyamah. Where? In the beginning of Surah Al-Hajj. So ulama, they asked her, what is the connection between Hajj and Qiyamah? Hajj, is one thing, Qiyamah is another thing. What is the relevance of this mentioning Qiyamah at the beginning of Surah Al-Hajj? The ulama, they mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is giving us an indication that when we go for Hajj, we should be reminded of Qiyamah. That just like on Qiyamah, people, they will not have proper clothes. People will not care about anything. They'll just be worried about themselves. And everybody will be calling or crying in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everyone will be so overwhelmed by their situation and their condition. The same way when we go for Hajj, we will be, basically take off all the normal clothes we wear. We'll just be wearing 2 sheets. And we will be crying in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we will be pleading in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking Him to save us before that day comes when there will be no means of being saved. Then when all of our chances and all of our opportunities will be lost. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the understanding and ability to practice.